The seas cast its spells on me since I was a little boy. I can still vividly recall a time when I ran along the beach in the early morning looking for small critters in a tide pool, and a time in the bookstore where I spent hours looking through all the crazy underwater imageries in the foreign magazine for free. And I still remember the time when I first snorkeled in the tropical seas and got stunned by all the colorful fish in a pristine reef, where I saw my first shark. For me, my favorite animal has always been sharks. Why? Because sharks have sharp teeth, and sharp teeth are awesome. Perfect logic. There was this one time when I got baby sharks from the fish market when I keep them in the freezer at home to look at them every day. Until the fish got too stinky and my mom threw my lovely sharks away, and that was very traumatizing. 2 decades later, that traumatized kid grew up to be this traumatized adult who kept hundreds of dead sharks. The difference is sharks are now kept in chemical tubs instead, and the most important thing of all is my mom couldn't touch them this time, as they were collected for my research. So I got to study sharks that I love. And when you love something, you would want people to know and care about them as much as you do. Apart from their awesome sharp teeth, sharks are the high-order predator of the sea, so they have an important role in controlling the prey population down in the food web, which contributes to the overall health of the whole ecosystem. As large predators, most sharks have a long lifespan, slow growth, and can produce a small number of offspring, contrary to most other fish that may produce millions of eggs. Most shark species can have no more than 20 babies per season. In a natural setting, that should be fine, as there aren't that many things that view sharks as prey. But when humans get involved in the equation, things take a sharp turn where the population of sharks are decimated throughout most of the world oceans. Majority of the shark species just simply cannot cope with the fishing pressure that they are subjected to. And it could take decades for their population to recover if they aren't locally extinct first, as already happened to many species in several parts of the world. As for Thailand, we are ranked among the top exporters, including the re-exporting of shark fins in the world. But the interesting thing perhaps is the sharks weren't really targeted for their fins here. They were caught as incidental catch in non-selective fisheries. But although they weren't targeted, the fishing pressures alone is enough to cause over 90% decline for most species, while some of them just disappear completely. Also, there were hardly any adult sharks that are sexually mature left. Most of the catch were tiny babies. This suggests that it would be difficult for their population to recover, and the important nursery area are also being threatened. Looking at all these findings, it is no surprise that Thailand is among the countries with the largest declines of sharks, which require urgent management measures to prevent further declines of their remaining population, and the protection of their known nursery grounds to allow these predators to continue their existence in our waters. Well, that was a quick summary of my thesis, which became my paper here. But not many people would get to read it, as this kind of work tends to be circulated among the scientific community at best. I want to tell the stories of what I've seen and experienced in the field to a wider group of audience. I want more and more people to know and care about the issues that I care about, and that urge to tell the story like this led me from my scientific career into a different path, into conservation photography. Photography has a power to tell the stories that can transcend language barriers. It can spark curiosity, evoke raw emotion, or even inspire love. Just like how the image in those magazines are imprinted in my childish brain until today. I found my new role where I want to use my camera to bridge the gap between the conservation community and the public, to bring those stories from the sea back and show it to as many people as I can. During my photographic career, I have been lucky enough to travel to different waters to document various subjects. From hanging out with the whale sharks while they were feeding on tiny planktons in the tropical sea of Maldives, or being surrounded by the playful seals in the cold, freezing water of Tasman Sea. I spent days looking for baby lemon sharks deep in the mangrove forest or the Bahamas, so as gazing at the countless stars passing over the field of corals that emerge at low tide. Of course, I love spending weeks or even months at these exotic pristine locations, but those opportunities are not easy to come by as the world's oceans are being increasingly threatened, especially my home waters, Thailand. When we imagine Thai seascapes, we probably think of Instagram-worthy beaches, cheap hotels, and a large selection of tasty seafood that costs next to nothing. Something that one of the world's top travel destinations would offer. But under those pretty surface layers, there are many things lying hidden in the deep, like the degradation of most of our coral reef from mass tourism and coastal development. The sight of shallow pristine reef that I fell in love with when I was young do not exist anymore. except in some remote archipelagos that are less bulldozed by mass tourism imagination, or plastic pollution that permeates into the marine environment even in the most remote place are affecting every living being, from this baby fish that lived in a plastic cup, or this gigantic sperm whale that was found dead with plastic filled in its stomach. Thailand was reportedly the world's sixth top contributor of marine plastics. Or the depletion of our fish stock from overexploitation by massive commercial fishing fleets, where the modern catch rate is now even less than 1/10 of what it used to be. This drives the industrial fleet to go further and further offshore to distance water to neighboring countries, where they leave trails of destruction and collapsed fish stock behind. Those who will suffer the most are the people whose way of life rely on healthy oceans. Like these artisanal fishers who cannot compete with the large industrial fleet, they are scraping the remaining cash from the declining fish stocks. Or the indigenous sea nomads like the Moken tribe, whose marine culture is disappearing in these rapidly changing seascape. These effects will not be contained only in the coastal communities, since everyone affects and is being affected by the oceans, from the food that we eat to the air that we breathe. Although you might be abstaining from eating wild-caught seafood, the animal feeds that used to raise livestock and aquaculture commonly use trash fish as cheap protein in the ingredients. These trash fish are non-economical species or undersized juvenile animals caught by non-selective fishing gears. You might live far up in the mountain, living the life of a happy, lonely hermit. But more than half of the oxygen that you breathe are from the oceans, primarily from the tiny microscopic phytoplanktons. Or even the climate conditions affecting the air that caresses your skin. That is also influenced by the ocean's currents, which plays a main role in the regulation of the Earth's atmosphere. And even if you are a super nice Samaritan that disposes trash perfectly where it should go, if the waste management system of your city is still inefficient, that piece of trash is going to sneakily find its way into the oceans. Or if the energy that our industry consumes hasn't been shifted to a cleaner source, the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere could drive the trajectory of our changing climate to the point of no return. And as the coral reefs die, so will the countless species that rely on these fragile ecosystems. Its effect on the ocean's current circulation would exacerbate the extreme weather events even more than today. But that is not only doom and gloom. We as a species had the capacity to reduce our impact, or even corrected our mistake to protect the oceans better. And more often than not, you would be surprised by the result. Throughout most of my life, I have seen Thai seas being unsustainably used as a cheap blood sacrifice for our economy. But the tide is finally turning, with major upgrades in fisheries regulation to combat IUU fishing, so as a strengthening of management of our marine protected areas, and even increasing effort to protect our endangered marine species. Marine life in Thai waters are making comebacks, including the heavily threatened animals. Sharks are returning to give birth in shelter bays. Sea turtles are returning to nest along the quiet sandy beach. This shows just how resilient the oceans are. So as a marine life potential for rebound, only if we just give it a chance. These positive notes might seem far-fetched, but sometimes bigger change can come from a small beginnings. It could be a story of one animal. Let me introduce you to Mariam. Look at her. Isn't she adorable? Mariam is a dugong, the sea cow species of our Indo-Pacific region. She was found lost and rescued from stranding. Since she was separated from her mom and she was still a baby, Mariam was raised by people instead, feeding her meal, teaching her to eat seagrass, or even taking her out for a swim with this ugly orange kayak. She has grown close to the people who raised her, and the people also grown to love her too. And that love was not limited to only the working team, but the whole community on the island. And eventually, other this coverage went out on local and international media. The people in Thailand and beyond. I guess we all just love chubby little thing. We even have a 24-hour live stream video feed of her. Personally, I can't help but feel like it was as if the oceans is reaching out for us, asking us for help. So things went well. Mariam got fat and happy until 4 months later, when she got stressed, sick, and died, despite all the effort to save her. We later found plastic piece in her stomach during necropsy. It made us all heartbroken. It has been almost 2 years since Mariam died, but I still like to think that her death was not in vain. The massive interest in Mariam has led to many conservation progresses in Thailand. There has been major movement and policies against single-use and marine plastic, by both the government, private sectors, and the citizens. There is an upcoming establishment of a new marine protected areas in the water where Mariam used to live that is approaching its final phase before implementation. And there is an upgrade to the National Conservation and Management Plan to protect the remaining dugong populations in our waters. Back then when I was doing the story, I couldn't foresee any of these, but they are already happening. It might come a wee bit too late for Mariam, but it could be just right for our remaining 250 strong dugong population. But it would be very naive to think that this is enough. I want to believe that there's still a chance, not only for dugong, but for the oceans as a whole. These change might begin with a story, but it couldn't have happened without the real key player, like the policy makers who listen to your voice, and the most importantly, people who care and make their voice heard, people like all of you here. As a photographer, I can only bring forth the image, but it is all of you who receive the message that can make a difference in the real world. So, thank you so much for listening and for caring, and maybe tell your story.